Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. Hello and welcome to SciTech Culture. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. How are you today, Steve? It's been a while, but it's good to be back in business again.
It is good. I've been back from my winter break in the northern summer and I'm back ready to talk about some more science and technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're all envious. So, big shock. So, Jony Ive is departing Apple, or should we say semi-departing Apple. It's always good that, you can leave a big company. Oh yeah, I'll just create a startup and my first customer's Apple. Like that. That's it's like they, it just magically happened out of nowhere. But good for him, I guess. Maybe these sort of, he's kind of got legendary status at Apple, given that, he was kind of considered the design soulmate of Steve Jobs. And, these things don't last forever. These people have got to move on and do other things or whatnot. But the hoopla and hysteria that's coming out in relation to this, I was actually at a dinner last night and someone was telling me that they'd read a story that the share price had taken this huge dive after the announcement, as if it was, the end of the world, and how they're going to design iPhones now, as if they, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, not to discount his contribution to the overall scheme of things, but a company that's become that big, I don't think just relies on a single individual anymore. And I'm sure there's a crack team there that's still able to, punch out the new designs, for some time to come.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And look, let's face it, I mean, how much more design can you really do on a MacBook or an iPad today, or even an iPhone? He's already had his influence there, and I would actually think it's probably maybe, and I have no idea, but maybe even getting a little bit, jaded in the Apple realm. There's no real new products to design. I also wonder, I just instantly thought, because of that, if he works at Apple, he can't design anything else. And he is a designer. And with technology as it is today, this probably allows him still to advise Apple on design. Obviously, he's got a great touch there and he is responsible for the Apple look and feel. But he can go and design other stuff now as well, like light bulbs, anything else with a computer chip in it, toasters, who knows, So it probably frees him up to do a whole range of other products as well. And I'm sure if Apple's his customer, he's not allowed to work on any other post-PC gadgets.
As an interesting sidebar, just to pick up a point that you're saying there, that I think that's something that a lot of people, I don't know if you can imagine when you're starting a career and you can't imagine about doing anything else and you just do this forever. And a lot of people, even if they're doing something that they love, they might never sort of imagine a point where they might actually become tired of it. And it does happen. It could, and he's been there since the early 90s, and I guess he's over 20 years. Yeah, so and that's a long time to be cooped up in a warehouse without windows. Maybe I'm just sort of speculating. Sort of drawing iPhones and whatnot. As a joke though, like you said, what else are they going to do? I mean, they only have to remove the notch on the iPhone and there's nothing else left, is there? It's all software after that.
Well, let's just have a quick look at his history. He came back with the iMac, the shell iMac with the Bondi blue colours and that sort of thing. And then the iMac went through a number of iterations, including the famous lampshade.
Completely different designs too at the time, before it settled on what it is now.
And really from the mid-2000s, when the iPad became a screen and a stand, it hasn't changed. The iMac hasn't changed much. We've seen the MacBooks sort of change, but really what can you change now? They're slim, got great screens. They look great, but, they've still got four corners. He was responsible for the design of the iPod, which ultimately became the iPhone. And we've seen the iPhone go through a number of major iterations to what we've got now. I don't think anyone can think of what new product Apple could do. He's responsible for the watch as well. So, but I think, as you pointed out, they've hit the wall there, and he probably wants to go and design other stuff. Like I said, and outside of Apple, he can. I don't think you can have somebody employed by Apple as their chief designer going out and designing other home, items with chips in them now. Of course, which you can. Whole systems. There's lots of opportunity for him.
That's interesting. Before I sort of move on, I mean, he's not like any other designer, engineer, or whoever that they've got working for him, but they do have instances where they have fairly senior people leave and go to other companies and do the same type of work. So do you think he really is locked in that respect, because of his status and
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Very good question. I would have thought because of his status, you'd at least put the brakes on him working for, say, Google design team for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But, who knows? I would also think that, he's obviously been a very loyal sort of servant of Apple and loves Apple, so I can't imagine him defecting necessarily either. So I think it's just a natural passage of time. 20 years is a long time to be at one company, and when you're a very talented individual like him, he must have other things that he wants to do outside of Apple. And when everything's got four corners and is as slim as it can get, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Change it from silver to black and then back from black to silver.
But they do that as well already, so there you go. As a reaction, obviously there was a lot to say, and I found the reaction interesting in the sense that you've got one side that's like saying, "Oh, Apple's doomed now because they've got no one there that can design anything," which is silly. And then there's almost the other extreme. If what they produce from now on turns out to be a failure, then obviously it's because Jony wasn't there, or if it's super successful, whatever they come up with now. Oh, it's because Jony was holding him back. All this sort of stuff. Like, you see it replicated over and over in so many different things. Why do these reactions happen? Because it's just silly stuff.
I completely agree, and that's just the whole machine with its media just going mad. I'm on the record of I'm not a big fan of Samsung phones, but geez, they look nice. They're really well designed. Is anyone able to tell us who the Samsung designer is? So I don't think this is a tragedy for Apple. I think it's just a natural passage of time. It's sad, sure, but it's not the 1990s anymore. We're in the post-PC era, and so I'm sure Apple have got other talented young designers just waiting for an opportunity. And let's hope. It also is, of course, as you just pointed out, a shift towards services, not hardware. But until the next whatever it is device appears, then there won't be need for any new design unless they start making round phones or something like that. I don't know.
Exactly. Something that we can't imagine.
Screens are rectangular, so
exactly. As a final point, which isn't in this particular story, I assume he had a hand in designing it, but I just wanted to touch quickly on the new Mac Pro that was announced, I think it was a couple of weeks ago at WWDC. The only reason I want to bring this up is because obviously with the trash can from 2013, they obviously made a misstep there, and they copped to it. But the thing is that I was watching the video, and then when it gets revealed and it's just what they call another cheese grater, which is essentially what they had before, just but to give them credit, a severely souped up version of what they had before. I was just sitting there going, why didn't you just do that like 6 years ago? Like, you should have just, like, instead of being stubborn and going, oh, we've got to innovate, or innovate in quotation marks, just keep doing that, because the pro, that's what the pros wanted. They want a box. They want to put a box on a table. They want to plug stuff into it. They want to upgrade it when they want. And that, if anything, like, they've got some things in there that are much better than the old version, where you can rack mount them. You can, customize this thing to the hilt so that it's got, ridiculous specs that you'll probably never use unless, Disney animators are. It just makes me laugh.
Isn't it?
What's that, sorry?
$30,000 a unit, fully spec'd, isn't that where it's aimed?
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, like, it's going to be a lot more than that from what I heard. I mean, the joke in the keynote was that they released a 6K display that was $5,000 US, and then they threw in right at the end, and the stand's $1,000, and then they just moved on, and then it created a whole meme thing that was going around the internet about, well, why didn't you just say it was $6,000? And they came back and gave this lame answer about, but pros, they don't usually buy stands. They've got their own setups and all that, so that it has to be a separate product. But then when you think $1,000 just for the stand, sometimes, like, I think they went back in the right direction, obviously, with this product. But you just sit there and wonder about their marketing sometimes.
Well, look, if they can get the product right, then how about they go back and get Final Cut X right?
So people don't jump ship to Premiere or Avid or something else.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I mean, I think, it is humorous, isn't it? But you can't believe, say, it's hard to understand at times where their thinking is these days. But maybe it's a little bit like sort of Microsoft, where the focus is on sales in some of the areas.
Absolutely. And look, don't get me wrong, like, the thought of having one of these boxes with 3 of those screens up in a workstation at home is attractive. Obviously completely unjustifiable from a financial perspective, but boy, it would look good and it'd be fun to use. But yeah, it's definitely catering for Pixar animators and top-end scientists crunching big numbers and all that sort of stuff. But at least they're serving that market again.
Yeah, well, that's good. Good to see. I just wish they'd do it at a more affordable price. I liked it when the expensive, top-of-the-range Macs were $3,500, $4,000.
The good old days. And and just to finalise, I should do some research on this, but I wonder how much Jony had to say in this particular design, because in true Apple fashion, they literally made it look like a cheese grater. They accentuated the outside of the design so that the front part of it looks like you could rub some cheese on it, and it's. I don't know. I think with Apple, you sort of shrug your shoulders and you say, "Yep, that's what they do."
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Johnny's next move is, a range of interactive, smart kitchen products. Who knows? Well, in all seriousness, as chief designer, he would have had to sign off. So he must have liked the look of it.
Oh, absolutely. All right. On that note, we might wrap it up there. So don't forget our website, SciTechCulture.com. You can get all of our links and content there. You can subscribe to all of our channels, YouTube, Vimeo, etc. And I hope you enjoy all the content there. And we appreciate when you visit our website. It's what we've got it there for, and we've got all the content there. All right. So that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.